You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share facts.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is We'll do it live! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000! My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll. Don't save me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a firing believer. Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up! Oh, God, oh, man.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd to Know Basis Show, airing on Phoenix 92.5 FM or all those wonderful places on the internet. I am Cian and with me this week is...
Dara, how's it going? Ahoy.
Very well, thank you, Dara. How's everything going?
I can talk today, so that is good.
We won't dwell on it too much, but I believe that you were deliriously sick for a little while there.
I was so incredibly sick, I thought Kanye West was building a Stargate in my room. So
you have to confirm whether this actually happened or not.
I don't know if it didn't happen or not. That's the thing. I woke up and I was really confused about where Kanye was gone and why I didn't have a Stargate anymore.
Kanye, don't leave.
Don't leave.
Take me with you.
Well, no, you don't. You don't want that.
Through the Stargate.
Leave the Stargate, Kanye. Don't take that with you.
Maybe he packed it up behind him and he went through it or something.
I don't know, man. But if we never see Kanye West again, we know what happened.
Well, this is kind of an audience interactive thing that people at home can do. We are recording this on two assumptions. One is that Dara is well enough to do the show, or the other is that he isn't, but we might get something funny out of it. So this by the true. End,
I am on.
You can decide for yourself. We'll set up an online poll or something.
I am on a lot of antibiotics at the moment. So
that's exactly it. Yeah. So we'll see now. But I have been quite eager to talk about the gem that all sort of nerdy review sites have covered by now, the Star Wars Holiday Special. But I believe, Dara, you also have a rather intriguing Christmas recipe you'd like to talk about as well.
Well, I came across an interesting idea that, we all have turkey and some people have ham and chicken or whatever. I just like the turkey around Christmas. But what's more interesting is Pokemon that you could eat. Right now there's a whole talk about the new Pokemon game, which we'll talk about, which is apparently a massive train wreck, which I mean, we'll get into it, but apparently
we'll get into it. I'll tell you what, the Pokemon vegetarians in the audience, why don't we do the Star Wars Holiday Special first?
I mean, you can eat a Vileplume. And then they can tune out a
bit later when Pokemon stuff comes up.
You could eat a Vileplume. That's just a mushroom, like.
But now you're getting into the weeds, as it were, there, because if the plant is sentient and can express emotions and joy and autonomy and that kind of stuff, is it still like a typical plant? It
doesn't matter. I mean, plants do experience these kind of things. We just can't interpret them. I mean, that's how veganism thing. That's why vegans exist.
So we're going to start a movement of Pokemon vegans here.
But no, I just think you should be okay eating them. It's like, I'd go so far, I'd eat the cutest Eevee I could find.
But even that brings up fantastic ramifications because there's a grass type Eevee. So can vegetarians just eat the grass type but not the Flareon? There's so many levels to this once you introduce grass types.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would imagine in the world of Pokemon, they absolutely do eat them because there's no other animals anywhere else. Think about it.
Oh, completely. I do remember vividly.
Actually think about it. Even the milk. What's it? Millitung? Is that what it's called?
Miltank.
Miltank, that's it. I mean, they drink the milk.
This is true. But like I remember there was in the first series of Pokemon, there was like they got stranded on an island with Team Rocket or something,
Mm.
and there was like a slowpoke chef serving up fish.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hang on, wait, fish exists
Yeah,
in
Magikarp.
Pokemon? Yeah, I know, but it wasn't like a Magikarp, it was fish. It was like sushi. So wait, do fish also exist? And dogs and cats and things, or are Pokemon all of the animals? Like, what's the logic there?
I always thought Pokemon were all the animals.
Yeah, that was my assumption.
You know,
Yeah,
because I was like, okay, they're obviously the stand-in for like Meowth behaves. Meowth in the show behaves weird because he talks like a person.
yes, but and he had his like Charles Dickens backstory thing where he learned to talk and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
But all the other Meowths are just cats.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
so it's kind of like, all right, you know, this is fair enough. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I know. Looking at the games allude to it, like because I believe slowpoke tails are like a delicacy, and like that kind of stuff.
no,
But-
but I mean, in the real world, I don't know if using the real world is a bit silly
Yeah.
for this, but I mean, if we're to use the reality of, you know, how this would be done, there's absolutely no way that they're not eating them.
Mm.
There's too many of them around. There are probably ones that they wouldn't eat because, you know, technically you can eat a dog and a cat, but you're not going to because that would be horrible. Genuinely, that'd be awful.
Merry
You could do
Christmas,
it.
everyone.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it. It just would be horrific. I know some people feel that way about, you know, even eating cows or something, but I'm like,
Mm.
all right, you know, fair enough. Each to their own. But yeah, I mean, like, they probably have some kind of scale where they're like, okay, we can eat a Magikarp before it turns into a Gyarados because then you're eating a dragon.
Yeah, what if that happened? Like, you know, you're chasing a Magikarp. I suppose it does happen in the show, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I don't think I think, you know, there has to be some kind, like, I don't know. There's obviously an economy here set up at some point that they have this all figured out, and obviously we're not involved with that. But there are other Pokemon that, like, even in, you know, like the Rattata, you could probably eat Rattata. Wouldn't that be weird? But, you know, I mean, there's loads of ones that you could do very easily, and there's other ones that you just couldn't or wouldn't because you know, it's horrific. That's why eating an Eevee would be hilarious in front of a bunch of vegetarians, because you know, it'd be awful, but also be really funny at the same time.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, like, did you have going with this wild train of thought, and we'll see if people endure it to the other side of the Star Wars stuff, but did you have particular recipes in mind for Christmas?
Well, there's a good video I saw, and a few of them are pretty. The whole thing about the Clefairy was another one, and he was like, "I don't want it because it's too cute," and then people made them.
Well, Clefairies are aliens anyway.
Yeah,
So that's a
I know,
whole other category in and of itself.
But he also said it was too cute to eat, and that's where I got the Eevee idea.
Okay.
I don't know, it's pretty good. I mean, like, any the Vile Plumes or any plant based, you could probably go with you know, a nice
A Vileplume could defend itself.
not if you hit it hard enough. You know, but yeah, you could probably make some, yeah, mushroom soup, Vileplume soup out of that. You know, the Oddish, you know, it's pretty much just a radish. You could, you know.
Okay, we're going very vegan this Christmas dinner.
Well, you know, well, see, I only know the ones from the original because you know, it's ridiculous at a certain point.
Right.
So what? Okay, my question to you then: what would be a good turkey substitute?
I've actually been thinking about this for several days, and it's quite tough because, like, all of the bird Pokemon are fairly athletic, aren't they?
Yeah, but
Like,
see,
you know.
again, if you hit it hard enough, or, you know.
Oh, I know, but say a Pidgeot isn't like a stand-in for a turkey. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe you could, like, I don't know, fatten it up. Maybe, I don't know, like, you know.
There is a pig Pokemon, but he's a fire type, so
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
hold
I
on,
suppose he could cook himself.
what's that thing called? What's that dish called? Pate. Pate is just, you know, you go the pate route. Do you ever have pate?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just same route with Pidgeot.
The Tepig, sorry, is the pig Pokemon.
Tepig is too cute though. That's the thing.
This is the problem with all Pokemon, though. Unless you want to eat muck, like, you're kind of stuck, aren't you?
I know, but I mean, like, it's like they couldn't eat Pikachu.
You could download a Porygon and eat that.
No, because then you have seizures or a virus or both. Virus seizures.
Oh my goodness, there is actually a subsection of turkey Pokemon.
Is there?
But
Oh my god.
but
It's so lazy.
but they are quite terrifying. So I'm
Really?
not sure if I'd take one on.
Okay, I'm gonna be a professional and I'm gonna Google these. So give me a second.
I feel like if you wanted to go a slightly aquatic route, like Slowpoke and Slowbro are probably your safest bets. They'd probably
No,
be like those like massive giant turtles that you used to be able to just pick up and
no,
take away with you, and they
no,
wouldn't
no,
do
no,
anything,
no,
you
no.
know.
Yeah, no, you absolutely have to have. Oh no. Pokemon fans won't be able to celebrate Thanksgiving by catching a turkey Pokemon because no such Pokemon exists.
Eh,
Pidgeot's the closest one. And then
I
there's
said Pidgeot, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Manibuzz, but that's a vulture like Pokemon. So Pidgeot's the closest one. So you'd have to probably catch the Pidgeot and then like go to Pate route.
Now, here's an intriguing prospect, though. The closest one to looking like a turkey would probably be Ho-Oh, which is a legendary one. Do you think someone would go to all the trouble of going to capture a giant, massive legendary one just for Thanksgiving or Christmas?
I mean, it depends how many people you have. No, I mean, if they're feeding like 30, 40 people, probably do the trick, wouldn't
You'd have to go all the way up to the top of that haunted tower thing.
it? Again, it's probably better than beating the line. Like,
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm definitely having Christmas dinner at yours because there's gonna be a story behind each of these. Uh but like I mean, I suppose that's as good a segue as any into what's the deal with this Pokemon game that everyone's upset about. Because I'm gonna say before you even start, I remember when Pokemon Sword came out, at Sword and Shield, everyone was like, "Oh, in arms, and this is the worst game ever, and how can they not include this?" And I played it a few months after it's released, and it was great.
you
So
see, that's not
is this just a
no,
first week type panic, or is this something different?
no, it doesn't. No, I haven't heard any. Like, again, look, I haven't played it. I was
Hmm.
actually going to buy it because I wanted to play it because apparently they went back and brought in a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon and then
Right.
all that kind of stuff. And I was like, all right, fair enough. You know what? It's been a while since I've dropped in to play a Pokemon game, so I'll pick it up. And then I actually looked into it. And the problem isn't that. Like, that's not the like I think that's very silly criticism to have. Oh, you didn't include my favorite Pokemons. It's like, okay, they're not real, calm down. It's more just kind of a case of the game is fundamentally broken.
Right.
Like at a what's that game? Fallout 76. Do you
Right.
know what happened to Fallout 76?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay, so Fallout 76 was the Fallout. So for anyone who doesn't know, here's the deep lore to Fallout 76. Basically, it was the always online Fallout game.
Oh, yes, I remember Jim Sterling going nuts about this. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And this is also how I found out about what's happening here. James Stephanie Sterling did a video on it, and she freaked out about it because I was just like, "Oh wow, okay, what's going on?" And I looked into it then, and I was like, "Holy hell!" So basically, there's also a really good internet historian video on Fallout 77, or Fallout 6, what's it, 77, which you guys should, or 6, whatever it is. It's a terrible one. I can't remember. I'm too sick to care. You totally watch it, and it's really funny. Basically, what happened was they released the game in a broken state, like absolutely broken. Right. Like, this thing did not work. Servers would go offline, items would disappear. Like, everyone says Cyberpunk was broken. That's nothing compared to the Fallout game, and apparently it's a lot more of the same when it comes to this Pokemon game. So with that in mind, I was like, oh wow, okay, so I guess I'm not buying it. And a lot of the discourse has been around how broken the game is. So I just wanted to say, if anyone got that for Christmas, or is going to get for Christmas, hopefully they release some kind of patch because it really seems to be in a bad state.
Okay, but like, broken in what way? Because like, I got the Kingdom Hearts thing that they dropped like around this time last year, where it was an online thing, and the servers were so understaffed that you couldn't actually play it. It was like lag.
Yeah, but
is this an online playable issue, or what are people kind of objecting to about it? Like,
it's very different.
Okay.
The cloud-based issue you ran into was because the game was running on a server, and then your machine was acting as a client. So all the computing power wasn't done by your Switch. It was basically, so the way cloud gaming works, the same with the Google Stadia, right? Instead of, let's knock something over. That's fine. instead of your Switch being the thing that powers the game, right? It's been sent off to the cloud.
Right.
The cloud is running, so a big, for all intents and purposes, a big supercomputer or server is running the game, running Kingdom Hearts, and then it's sending it back to your Switch. So that's what the lag is for. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible to play the game because the Switch is not a powerful console at all. It genuinely isn't. And you know, I've reviewed my Switch usage, and if I would buy one now with the Steam Deck available, and I would not, I would say don't buy one. Buy the Steam Deck.
You wouldn't buy a Switch at all?
No.
Really? My goodness, that's harsh.
No, it's not harsh. I mean, it's a different usage. Like I like my Switch. I have it in my bag when I'm traveling. It's handy. It's great for power, all that kind of stuff. Like power consumption and games and that. But I mean, compared to the Steam Deck, which is the greatest bit of technology probably ever made, it's like gaming technology. It's so wonderful. It can do everything. And yeah, it's really heavy and it's built like a tank and doesn't leave my room, but it's fantastic. So I would still, buy one of those over it. But I think when you're buying the Switch, you need to know what you're buying. And you're buying a very powerful Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
Basically. But also, it can play some, actually, no, sorry. You're buying a very powerful Game Boy Advance that can run 2015 games on mid settings.
Yeah, but like I suppose the Switch is kind of intended for more of a family audience anyway, and the Steam Deck would be for someone who's looking for very specific, different types of things.
Yeah, and that's why, and that's my point, and that's why I think selling something like Kingdom Hearts is very duplicitous, because it's like that's not running on that. There's no way that's running on that. And to be fair, they did the same thing with Hitman 3, and Hitman 3 runs okay, but not really as well as it does on the PS5. Like for obvious reasons, because they're doing the exact same thing. And this is how Google Stadia was built. Google Stadia, again, was you bought the controller, plugged it in, and you could play all these games using Google servers. Yeah, that's great, but again, lag. Doesn't matter how good the server is if your internet connection isn't super up to speed or anything like that. And again, you're not going to be hardlining in your Switch. You're just not. So that's the issue there. With Pokemon though, they ship the game like you're buying the game. The game isn't running. It's not a client. It's not a client. It is the host system. So it shouldn't have these issues. But what's obviously happening is they released it in such a broken mess that when it runs, parts of the game don't load.
Well, this is because I was discreetly looking up some of the reviews just while you were talking about it there, and like I'm hearing the consistent things I'm seeing is like buildings don't appear, the floor sometimes disappears beneath you, shops don't have interiors, Pokemon get stuck in rocks.
Yeah.
Like that's why I assumed
and
with these issues it was a cloud-based thing. So why is it happening at all if it's not that?
Well, see, it could be. That's the thing, but it's not supposed to be. They are very different things. Like they didn't sell this as a multiplayer cloud exclusive thing. It's supposed to be a finished game. It's kind of like with and that's where it comes into a similarity with Cyberpunk, where look, I was playing Cyberpunk the fixed version on the PS4 on the PS5, playing the PS4 version. That's the only one that actually works if you're not going to play on the PC, right? And even still, they just randomly start T-posing. I swear, I was playing a mission and the enemies just broke into T-posing randomly, and I'm like, oh my god, again? Or you're still randomly T-posing. Okay. So, I mean, I think this is just a damnation of current game development. Like it's it's very hard to get excited for games now, and even when you do, it's like, okay, they're broken messes. And it's just unfortunate, really, because I mean, I genuinely was looking forward to the new Pokemon game, because again, I haven't really played one in a while, and now I'm just like, oh well, I guess I'm not going to.
I'm looking forward to picking it up in 6 months when it's all fixed and everyone's forgotten about it.
I mean, that is the hope, or when they drop it down to like a 10 or something, that never really happens. I mean, this one could actually do proper damage to Game Freak, and look, they deserve it. If this is the way they're going to ship games like this that are going to sell no matter what, they are obviously trying to get the Christmas rush. Which, look, fair enough. We all need to make a book, but at the same time, it's like,
yeah, but didn't they release the remakes of Pearl and the other one just a few months ago?
Maybe, I'm not too sure. I said I'm not a huge Pokemon fan anymore.
Okay.
It kind of is what it is for me. I was just looking for a nice deep game to play into.
Yeah,
I've heard the Disney game's pretty good, the Disney Dreamlands.
okay.
And the funny thing about that is that's going to be free to play soon. So I'm like, play that. Maybe play that, because at least it's, well, right now it's, you can get like special packs and stuff, and you get a little fox companion if you pay the full amount, which I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. I want a little fox to carry around. But I mean, that's more appealing than a broken mess of a game, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it comes to the question where, and look, it's been the longest thing in games, going all the way back to even ET, right? The reason why ET
that's an episode in and of itself.
No, but look, it's been done to death, but we might talk about it at some point. But the reason why ET is legendarily bad, or the reason why it was so bad, it's not because it's a bad game. It's a bad game because it was made in 6 weeks. You're gonna make no, literally, they went up to the guy and they're like, "You have 6 weeks. Good luck."
I mean, to be fair, it sounds like an achievement when you put it like
That's
that.
it. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, how good of a coder you are. 6 weeks is not enough time to really do anything beyond what he did. What he did was amazing, given the scope of the project. You know, game developers still shouldn't have this, or it's not game developers, because I mean it's not really their fault. It's gaming companies in general. Should not have this mindset where go, all right, go on, 6 weeks, go crunch. And you're like, oh, it's never gonna go well, you know. And now the fact you can patch games out really doesn't fix the problem, because it's like, oh, let's release this broken mess of a game, we'll patch it out, and you're like, can you release it not broken so I can play it properly the first time? And it's weird because that's just not something that's done nowadays, you know.
This is what I find baffling about the games industry, because I get that like there is a sort of a lack of morality, we'll say very generously, in regards to the way game developers are treated, and there's all these crunch periods and all that kind of stuff. But my question is, why, if the product is your bread and butter, why aren't they given enough time to develop it? Like what is the rush?
See, look, I have a lot of friends who are game developers who work in the industry. You know, I nearly got a job with a, actually, can talk about it now. It's been 2 years. Yeah, I nearly got a job with Activision. So I mean, I think my NDA has run out. So look, I know a little bit what I'm talking about, but I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. And it's just greed, man. It's just greed. It's just, they know they can get away with it. You know, it's like DLC was brought in with horse armor and people ripped you know what out of it. And what happened? They just kept going, and now DLC is an accepted part of game development, right?
Yeah.
It's
which is
wild.
funny, because
it's
DLC
wild.
is like, it's got such quaint origins. Like I remember, because we're gonna get into Star Wars in a few minutes, like I remember having Rogue Squadron on the PC, and like for some reason, whenever we bought it, just the Star Wars credits didn't work, you know, the opening one. And so like my dad went to a website and was like, how can we fix this? Free patch, and the patch threw in the Naboo Starfighter for free.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it used to be like this really quaint thing you could add on. It wasn't an expected part of the gaming experience, you know.
Well, that's because they cared. You know, and now it's like, even if I was watching a good video the other day where it's like, why games aren't fun anymore, and he's just like, am I just old, or no? And I mean, I thought that too. I was like, maybe I'm just old and just outgrown this stuff. And it's like, no way, it's the children who are wrong. and it very much is, because I mean, you know, thanks to the Steam Deck, I can go back and I can play any PS2 game, I can play any Xbox game, I can even play like older games from even 5 years ago, and they're just better.
Yeah, you know, I agree. Like
genuinely better.
Because this is how good my local library is. I got the BioShock trilogy out of the library for free, like on the Switch, and like, you know, it's these. Like, I was astounded by the quality of it, and you wouldn't get anything like that today. You know, it'd be really, you'd get first half of BioShock, you know, and it'd be 6 months of teasing, and then everyone would hate it when it came out, and then they patch it later, but people would like it, but kind of forget about it. It like the Final Fantasy VII remake, you know, everything would be like over like priced and over explained and over all that kind of stuff. It's hard to just get a game and just relax into it. I feel like you need to sort of be part of the culture of a specific game to play a game, you know.
I think that's actually, I think that's a very succinct way of putting it, Kane. It's more like a cult of gaming.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, where you're like, oh, we're all part of this together. And it's like, no, man, you're a corporation. You don't give a you don't give a damn about me once I buy the product, you know. And it's I think now that where you see that the most, you see it with Nintendo specifically. Nintendo actually gets a pass on this, like way more than it should. It's like, oh yeah, we love you guys. Like, no, you don't. You guys actively hate everybody.
In what respect? Because the Nintendo games I've gotten have been fairly good quality.
That's obviously a joke. That they don't, obviously Nintendo don't hate anybody. They
no, but I just mean like regardless of like your wild accusations, like what did you mean about the culture of Nintendo? Like,
no, obviously like a lot of what I said there is a joke, but in the reality lore, it's just like, you know, like factions will form around consoles. It's a throwback to the console war kind of thing. You know, I remember I don't like Nintendo because I grew up loving Sega and they killed Sega. So
kind of like a Marvel DC type thing. Yeah.
No, but it's much more. I mean, like I actively do buy Marvel and DC comics. I want them all to be to survive. I actively want Nintendo to die. No, that's not a joke. I mean, I hate Nintendo. They killed Sonic. They killed the Dreamcast.
Hey, Sonic was perfectly capable of destroying itself. Thank you.
No, hold on. That's only once the internet people got it. You know, he was fine before the internet people got him. That's a whole other thing which we can't talk about because it's that 5.
Go watch Super Eye Patch Wolf. He'll explain it.
No, don't. Your life's better off without knowing what we're talking about. But Super Eye Patch, actually, we need to try interview him at some point.
I would love that. He's my favorite YouTuber.
He's up there for me anyway. He's not my favorite YouTuber, but I do really, really like his content. And I mean, like, he likes wrestling too. I think we could like get 2 or 3 interviews out of him. So if anyone has a contact, let us know because we'd love to. Oh
yeah, totally. I mean, it's the gift, not to dwell on YouTube too much, but it's the gift of a real YouTuber like him or Jenny Nicholson or Dan Olsen or any of them, where they take something you haven't heard of and make you care about it for 2 hours. That takes skill.
It does.
Like, you know, like Super Eye Patch Wolf's videos on wrestlings are compelling. And I've never seen a wrestling match, but I've watched these videos 3 times because his love for it comes across, you know?
Well, I mean, I still can't believe we've done 2 panels on it and you still haven't watched wrestling.
I feel like it would ruin my bit, though. My bit is to be horrified by the stories you're telling me.
That's true, but I thought you would have been
I'm the control subject.
I thought I would have sold you on it.
I do have one of your DVDs. I've been trying to find time to watch it for a while from the panel.
That's true. That's very, very true.
Maybe over the Christmas season.
Maybe over Christmas. That's what the family need at Christmas. Wrestling. But yeah, I mean, look, you know, to wrap up the segment, I think like the problem here when you see these kind of like, look, and I don't think it's the same as Cyberpunk. I don't think that's necessarily fair, because the thing about the difference with Cyberpunk was they told everybody, they're like, listen, lads, it is not done.
Right.
Please stop asking for it. It is not done. Then they got death threats and all this other stuff, and they're like, right, fine, if you want it, here it is. It's broken as all hell. So they did tell you, you know, but a lot of the coverage with that is because of, you know, the company and all this other stuff that isn't related to the game. So you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. But the Nintendo stuff on this specific occasion is 100% earned, because I mean, like, there's no excuse for them releasing a game like this other than just, we like money, ding, ding, ding. And that's kind of it. And again, when it comes to most gaming companies, I mean, look, it's in the name, gaming company, not gaming charity, you know. So it's like, that's what they do.
But there should be a base expectation of quality, especially
absolutely, but
as the demand and price go up substantially.
Absolutely, like, you know. But we've given that away because most kids don't give a hell about it, and they go and play Fortnite for like 14 hours a day. And
hey, well, say what you will about Fortnite, it works.
I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm saying like it
works and it's free. Like that's the weird thing. There's like 70 quid games that are released broken, and there are free games that work fine. And you'd think it'd be the other way around.
No, because the thing about those games is they don't rely on the product; they rely on constant microtransactions.
Well, I mean, like DLC. Again, if you're getting it for free and up to a point we have to start paying for it, like you're still getting like a more consistent experience than dropping 70 quid for a game that does not work.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say this how drug addictions happen, but
Oh, I get it. No, because
You know,
I installed a Star Trek game that's taken over my life on my phone. And it's free, but what it's taken from me is my life.
you see
So I do get it.
what should what should happen here is which one was it? The Star
The
Wars
Fleet Command.
Fleet Command. Yeah, I nearly
Yeah.
got a job there as well, actually.
Oh, nice.
I just couldn't deal with myself working on the Star Trek game. Sorry.
Yeah, actually, funny enough, I got a story about that very quickly. It'll take a minute, which is that because it kind of relates to what you were saying. They did like a patch for Fleet Command a day or two ago at the time of recording.
Right.
And they added a whole bunch of new things, which is really cool for a free
really
game,
cool.
you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there was a bug where every time the ships tried to fight each other, it wouldn't work.
Right.
So and the whole game is a ship fighting game. So you'd see all these like fleets of ships go next to each other, give up, and then just wander off.
Oh my god, that's
like
amazing.
it was so brilliant. Like all the comments are going, "Happy International Peace Day," all that kind of stuff. Because it's just like it's one of those like, oh, you fixed everything except the one thing you needed most. Like, you know, I love that about, you know, the first day a game drops. Like, 'cause something like that always happens.
Yeah, I mean, like game development is really hard. That's the thing, and I think a bigger issue as well is like, while game development was always difficult, it was never like it wasn't sinking millions and 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 millions of dollars into it. Difficult. It was kind of like, all right, we're going to be here. We're going to have to get a bunch of pizza, and we're going to like crunch this out in about a year or two, right? Now it's like it's millions of dollars and crunching, you know, and all this kind of stuff, and it's like it's just grown far beyond what it should be. I mean, like my big thing is, and look, to be fair, there's a lot of Irish gaming studios as well, or lots of game companies in Ireland as well who do a great job, and they really do. And I mean, like if your friends work in game development, like again, it's not a knock at them, it's literally just kind of how it is. But I mean, like that's the problem. I mean, no matter what they're doing, you know, the real passion, and you see it yourself, Kane. I mean, we talked about it, like Cuphead, games like that. I mean, they're the ones where all the passion comes out because it's a passion project. You know, they're not doing it for a corporation. They're doing it because they believe in it, and that's when you really get them. Like I have a friend who he gave up like he's done a bunch of art for Horrendous. So I mean, the art I did for one of her shirts still sells out to this day. Like that's how good it is. I'm really big fan of it. So shout out to you. And it's kind of a case where like he gave up everything to go off and make his game, and he's been working on it for like 3 years.
Well, that's just it. I think you're touching on something there, which is that the big mega business component to the gaming industry has kind of eaten everything. Like, you know, I think we've kind of forgotten that video games are a form of expression and storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely.
That can be really, really special. But like we're so used to being gamers, we sort of have it in our head. There's only one or two types of experience we can expect, you know?
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, that's a very new thing as well, because like, you know, when you grew up, I don't want to say it, in the Mega Drive, Super Nintendo kind of thing, you know, a lot of the games are very similar, but then there would be those breakout games that were a little bit different. But it really kind of came to a crest in the PS2 original Xbox era, where you could get any kind of game you wanted. You could get everything from a masterpiece like Shadow of Colossus or Ico or System Shock 2 on the PC, Blood Omen 2. You get anything basically around that time period. But then you could also get the worst games you've ever played. Like, you know, there's one specific company I can't remember the name of, but they do like rip off of Disney games. There's a whole there's channels that are just for these games. Like games that would cost you like €3 or something like that, you know, like absolute garbage there. So I mean, but because that's how cheap it was to develop for, anyone could do it. And I mean, that was kind of the barrier for entry. And now, ironically, when you have access to, you know, like, I mean, game engines are free now for the most, not all of them, few of them, like Unity and Unreal are free, I think. And you can just develop on those. You can make a game. Anyone can make a game. You listening right now, you can make a game. You could probably make it in about a week.
Make a game. Make a Nerd to Know Media game. Send it to us.
I mean, you absolutely could. Will it be good? Probably not.
Oh no, it will be good. Follow that dream. I'm encouraging you.
Listener. No. What I'm saying is, it's like, if it's good or bad, it doesn't matter, because it'll never get the attention that one of those other games got because of the mindset of things. Like, you can go in and you can find the best games ever for free on each.io, or on the Switch or whatever, but the culture has just switched so much away from that, where it's just like, oh, it's not these 5 companies making this one game, or it's not Call of Duty. I mean, like the new Modern Warfare released, and I heard nothing bad about it. I just heard nothing good about it either, and I'm like, it's gonna make $1 billion.
Well, I mean, like kind of Call of Duty is kind of more like FIFA, where it's sort of like
the fact that FIFA gets released every year is ridiculous.
Yeah, you release the new one to release the new one,
Yeah, it's just like it's Malibu Stacy with the new hat, like.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Yeah.
And the fact that's a thing, and it's just crazy. And look, yeah, okay, I don't like football. I really don't. You could say I passionately dislike football, but it's more of a case of I'm just like, that could be DLC. That whole business model could just be DLC, where you just release a big patch, you pay $10 for it, and you update the rosters. They will never do that because that's the business now.
No, or like maybe a FIFA like for each console, and then they keep adding to it, like they did with what's that game, Destiny, back in the day, like that kind of thing.
But the thing about that is that $10 or $70,
yeah,
or €70 or whatever it is. I don't. Again, I don't really buy new games because I just can't stomach them. But yeah, I mean that there are some glimmers of hope. Particularly now with the Steam Deck, where I get to really dig into Steam games again, which takes me back to why I prefer it over the Switch, because I can actually have weird Steam experiences not on my computer. That sounds like a really
weird Steam experiences is our new frequent segment, which is going to come up on this show.
That's fair.
We'll get someone to do a little logo.
A little logo. Oh man, I know I did the show on so many antibiotics, but anyway, my point was, like, I can have weird Steam experiences. No other way to put it. Experience that you can only get while playing, on through Steam's weird collection of games, like Internet Cafe Simulator, or just weird games that you just can't play anywhere else. Yeah. And I just get to play them on the go. It's great.
Okay, now if I don't start talking about the Star Wars Holiday Special, we will not get to it. So I'm sorry to interrupt you mid-flow, but I think, let me just say up front about Star Wars Holiday Special.
I love it.
Everyone knows it's kind of the worst thing ever, allegedly. Everyone has watched a YouTube channel that has covered it, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate I am not breaking new ground by covering it. Let me just say that up front. I will say, though, I did watch it the whole way through with an open mind, and as a test subject, because this is the kind of parent I am, I brought my 3-year-old to watch it with me. And the most heartbreaking thing, and I will get into the synopsis of the Star Wars Holiday Special in a minute, but the most heartbreaking moment for me was when she started watching it, not knowing what it is. And she loves Star Wars, loves it to bits. Watched all the Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes, and she goes, like, Han Solo, I know him. C-3PO, I know him. R2-D2, I know him. And then, like, because they're doing this opening crawl of all the characters who are going to be in it, and then Wookiees start turning up, and she goes, I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't know. And then it's like celebrities from the 70s. I don't know that. I don't know that. And then it starts, and it's all just Wookiees grunting at each other with no subtitles. And she goes to me, why are they being mean to each other? And I went, I don't know. They don't know what they're saying. And she went to bed after 20 minutes. She would rather go to bed than watch this Star Wars Holiday Special. And she loves Star Wars. So I found that quite damning. Before I get into the synopsis, though, like, what's your kind of experience with the Holiday Special there?
I loved it.
Really?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna like bash heads a bit here to get this. So before I kind of get into describing the synopsis, in case people don't know what it is, what do you find appealing about it?
The masterpiece.
Okay, well then, you know what? I think we're gonna have to interrogate this a bit. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm gonna very quickly cover it because I'm assuming our audience is passingly familiar with the Star Wars Holiday Special. But in case you don't, it was a holiday TV special that was released in 1978. I've been looking into interviews around the time and that kind of stuff about this. And seemingly, according to Mark Hamill, George Lucas agreed to license it because he was worried that the toys would stop selling in the time it took between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back to come out. And that was how all the original cast got involved with it. And It's the story of Chewbacca and Han Solo trying to get back to the planet Kazoo, not Kashyyyk,
Not Kashyyyk.
Kazoo, where the Wookiees live. And most of the special is Wookiees, who are Chewbacca's family, all talking to each other in Wookiee talk. And then every 5 minutes, there'll be like a variety section where we see some dancing, or like Harvey Korman doing like a sketch or something. And it's not as bad as I expected. It's more lively than I expected, but it is fairly tedious. What is it that you find so compelling, Dara? I've got to know.
Well, I'll say it this way. It feels more like Star Wars than anything Disney Star Wars has put out.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's true, though. It's true. It's true. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, actually, you do bring up a really interesting point, which is that watching it, the fascinating thing, and I know like we're going to get into like Boba Fett and all the kind of canon things, but like what's interesting about the Star Wars holiday special, we're assuming George Lucas had nothing to do with it, is that it gives you a glimpse of what people thought Star Wars was back in 1977. Because like Star Wars now, with all of its expanded universe and stuff, is different than Star Wars, not even called A New Hope yet, just being a movie.
Yeah.
And like when you see what they put into it, like, you know, stormtroopers running around and cantina songs and like Wookiees just faffing around the place, you kind of get a sense of what people were interested in and took away from Star Wars. And that's the robots are cool, the stormtroopers are cool. It's not the minutiae of the Jedi and all that. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but that's still the way Star Wars is now. People still think that's cool. Like,
yeah, but Star Wars is like dense now. Like, no, I mean, we won't get into the weeds on Andor, but like a show like Andor wouldn't exist if people didn't treat Star Wars as something to be cared about.
How long have we got left, Ken?
Not long enough. We've no, in all seriousness, we've got 15 minutes.
All right, I'll put it this way, right? I was in Disneyland Paris last week, right? Yeah, Disneyland Paris has a whole of like in the two parks they have like a whole Avenger thing, right? That
the Avenger Academy. I've seen it advertised. Yeah,
we might view next week. It's very hit and miss. I'll be honest with you. It's extremely hit and miss. So we're getting to that. So I think that's a show in and of itself.
Yes.
But the one thing I wanted to talk about on it when we're bringing up Star Wars is a dead brand. It is a dead brand because
what makes you say that?
Well, okay, if we're going just by theme parks, the Avenger place was always packed. Like the Spider-Man ride, which is pretty terrible. Like, to be honest with you, it really is. Was always 50 minutes, always, right? Unless you're on single riders or whatever, and that's like 10 minutes. But you know the actual line itself is 50 minutes.
Right.
The Star Wars ride, 10 minutes. There's only one Star Wars ride, but there's Space Mountain, and that it barely counts. And that was 10 minutes. And the Star Wars ride, like Star Tours, which is the best Star Wars experience you can have once it doesn't bring up the crimes.
Okay.
It 10 minutes. The advertising and like merchandise is all the it's all the Mandalorian, and then it's just nothing.
Right.
And it's not even the full Mandalorian. It's like it's a dead brand, man. No one cares about it.
But what makes it? Is it just because people aren't interested, or like what makes it dead to you?
Disney has killed it. Like they've killed any interest in it to the point that
you say that, but like how many, apart from like dedicated people like yourself, were people hugely interested before the buyout, as it were? Because my memory is that George Lucas was trying to get like a Boba Fett show made and couldn't, and like the Clone Wars was cancelled and stuff. You know.
Well, look, I'll put it this way. Like I remember Star Tours being the biggest thing ever.
Oh,
just for me.
Okay.
You know, and you'd go to Disneyland or whatever, and look, I've been going to Disney most of my life. Well, before the crash, and you know, trying to go back recently. So I spent a lot of my childhood in Disneyland and stuff like that. And it would always be a big thing. Star Wars was always a big thing. And you'd always associate it with Disney, but there was always this something else about it, and it's just not there anymore. Compare it to the MCU, which is kind of overtaken Star Wars in lots of ways.
Well, I mean, Star Wars was trying to be the MCU even when The Force Awakens came out. There was no secret about that.
No, but what I'm saying to you is Star Wars was the most profitable, powerful brand in the world until the MCU came along.
Oh, okay, got you. I'm sorry.
And that really has taken over it. And it's not only taken over it in a small way. I mean, it has literally wiped out. And because that's what Star Wars feels like now. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It feels like the MCU done badly, done really badly, done
Okay.
like missing the point. And look, don't get me wrong, Andor, I walk back on what I said. You thought I was being delirious earlier on. I walked back on what I said. And I think
I'm still not fully convinced you're not.
No, well, I think the reason, well, one, because I didn't watch it, I only watched it recently. But I think what the reason here is, it's kind of what I said. Like, the show doesn't mean anything. It's just there.
Yeah.
And because it's just there, they're actually trying to tell a story, not just shoehorn in X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you kind of bring up the Star Wars of classic era, because presumably Star Tours would have been successful because people really love the memory of the original trilogy. And you feel that in the sort of new 7, 8, and 9 trilogy. But like, it can't be new and a memory at the same time forever.
Like, I'll be honest with you, my favorite Star Wars of the new one is The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I could see that, yeah.
And the reason why is because I hated The Force Awakens. Force Awakens was everything I feared it to be. And as people are like, it was great in Force Awakens. It wasn't. It was terrible. It was the same movie that you already got 30 years ago. It needed to be something different. And The Last Jedi was. Now, did they go a bit too far? Some of it made no sense. Absolutely. I'll totally back you there. Holdo's plan made no sense. It kind of broke hyperspace. But look, it is what it is. And then they still would have carried it off if they had have actually just stuck to what they set up in the movie. Instead, they didn't. They went off and tried to undermine it. So I think like not having a plan really kind of killed it. And that's why the MCU deserve what they have now. And they're trying to course correct now. Actually, we'll probably get to that next week. But going back to the holiday special, like none of that was there yet. Star Wars was just a movie. And I think it has a lot of good in it still because it's done in good faith. You know, I think that's the difference. That's what I like about it. I'm like, it's quaint, you know? It's like, it's a
quaint is the way to describe it, yes.
It's a quaint 70s throwback. And while I'm not the biggest fan of the 70s in general, and no one will ever accuse me of that, I would say, like, there's a lot more heart to it than not. You know, I don't think people knew what Star Wars was. To be honest with you, what they should have done, I would, if I was Disney now, if I was in Disney's position, I would take this, I would remaster it, I'd throw in subtitles, I'd update it to a certain extent, remove some of the 70s stuff, put current figures into it, you know, not current, but like, you know, someone who would, you know, be able to be that pop Hulk, I suppose.
Yeah.
And but there is a lot you could keep. I mean, there's more I would keep than I would throw out.
Yeah, you know, because actually I'm glad you brought that up, because watching it in the related YouTube videos, the Muppets Christmas special, not like Muppets Christmas Carol, but the variety special the Muppets did was the next linked YouTube video. And I watched that just for a sense of comparison, because, like, you know, variety shows in the 70s were just kind of a thing. You had a song and dance, you had a chat, they had a weak plot that connected it all together. And comparing it to the Muppets is only an hour. The holiday special is like an hour and 40 minutes for no reason. It's not like they had a big story they needed to tell. It's just, I think if you trimmed the Star Wars holiday special down to an hour, had subtitles or voiceover, because, like, you know, you do kind of wake up and liven up whenever they cut to those bits with Han Solo and Chewbacca. Cleaned it up a little bit, gave it a HD treatment. It's never going to be great, but I think you could turn it into a fairly decent experience with a creative editor and maybe some more lively special effects, that kind of thing, you know.
Well, like, if you remember correctly, George Lucas's wife saved Star Wars in editing.
This is the Marcia Lucas,
yeah. I think everybody forgets that George Lucas isn't a very good editor. You know, he never really was.
Well, I don't hold that against Peter Jackson. I won't hold it against George Lucas.
No, I mean, his wife was the editor. So I mean,
yes, and they were editing it up until the day of release.
Exactly. So I mean, I think this was a case of they just kind of had to get stuff out the door, and it was just kind of like it wasn't given that pass through.
Well, that's just it, and it's also part of a television landscape that doesn't exist anymore. Where I think it might have been the Red Letter Media people who said that, like, holiday specials existed to fill time.
Yes,
because you had only 3 channels and you just had to fill a time slot, and reruns weren't as big a thing just yet. Yeah. So, like, the attitude wasn't, let's make a Star Wars movie. It's, we've got an hour and a half to fill, 2 hours, whatever. Let's just put as much as we can into this. And I think that translates to now, you know.
No, it doesn't. And that's why you have, like, what I would cut is actually kind of what you called out. The not all the variety A stuff, because I mean, some of that's kind of fun, but there's this weird kind of like singing dance thing in it
Is this the one on the Wookiee watches on the table, or is this when the granddad has the visor on his head and there's a woman singing to him?
I would actually cut both, but I would keep the woman singing in it, but update it.
Yeah, cut out all that stuff about her being your fantasy and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know.
What I would do there, I was like pop in some, look, I don't know pop music, but I drop
something because like is it Jefferson Starship? Wasn't there like a
it
song?
It was Jefferson Starship. Yeah, so I mean, you could actually re-release this now, genuinely. And what I would do is, again, I'd upscale everything to HD, CGI and what needs to be done. Definitely dropping subtitles because I absolutely need that. That's the biggest failure in it. No one knows what's going on because no one speaks Wookiee because it's not a real language.
Yeah, CGI a droid into the room that's translating or something. Because let's actually run through what the segments are. The first one is the weird, awkward Cirque du Soleil thing. Then
that could go.
Having that be first,
that could go.
It.
Yeah, that could go.
Then there's the Art Carney, some guy talking to an Imperial stormtrooper in a shop. That's technically fun. Plot. It's technically plot relevant, but that's whatever.
Fun. Yeah, I'll keep that.
Then you've got Luke Skywalker turn. I'm just going to put up all the cast appearances as one. You've got like the weird singing visor thing. You've got 2 Harvey Korman from Blazing Saddles things, one where he's cooking and one where he's building a computer. You've got the animated bit, which I like. You've got the bit in the cantina and what's it called? Tatooine, which I quite like. It's a creative editor. It's never going to be brilliant, but I think you could get something out of it. Like I like the little dig where when they're introducing the Tatooine thing, it's something along the lines of, we are now going to take a look at Tatooine so we may feel better by watching their miserable lives or something like that.
Well, look, the thing of it is, it's like you have an hour 40. That's about an hour 40, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about an hour 40. You could easily get a solid 40 minutes out of that.
Yeah. 40 minutes seems like a good, reasonable,
And that's usually what Disney Plus special is as well. So I mean, if I had the opportunity here, I'd be like, right, let's re-edit. Let's see what footage we can get, upscale this to HD, and then kind of go through it. Like the Boba Fett stuff, I'd actually reanimate completely. Because
actually, funnily enough, watching this and looking into this, I'm increasingly of the belief that Dave Filoni has a soft spot for the holiday special.
Oh, he absolutely does. He loves it. Yeah. He loves it.
Okay, because I noticed Lumpy turns up in the first episode of Rebels.
Yeah.
And in the first episode of The Mandalorian, you have a Life Day reference and you've got the gun that Boba Fett has.
Yeah, no, he absolutely loves it. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's the most Star Wars thing ever. It's just, it suffers from bad editing.
Yeah. And actually, I'm glad you brought up the 40-minute Christmas special, because next week we should cover the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which seems like, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy and Star Wars are kind of going to be inevitably compared anyway.
So
it'd be worth kind of looking. I know you haven't seen it yet, so it'd be worth looking at that compared to this and sort of seeing like kind of what the modern version of a Star Wars holiday special is.
Yeah.
Are there any other, because I know you're the person to ask, is there any other sort of canonical things that, apart from like Boba Fett, that come out of the holiday special and stick around in Star Wars?
It gets changed around a bit. Like Mark Hamill's face is his first appearance. I
noticed that, yeah.
And his weird face gets more weird as Star Wars goes on, because he was in a bike accident, I think. And like this was shot just after he got plastic surgery, so that's why his face looks so weird, and it gets even more weird as the
and he's covered in smoke and stuff. Yeah.
That's also why he was attacked by the Wampa.
Right.
So I mean,
okay, that makes sense.
No, that's absolutely why it was. Okay. Canonically, his face is messed up for reasons. The home planet Wookiees obviously is established. Its name is changed now.
Yeah, I was surprised by how similar it looked to Revenge of the Sith Kashyyyk, because like George Lucas does not like the holiday special, and yet there's a canonical connection there. Like they do live in tree houses in Revenge of the Sith and Kashyyyk.
Yeah, like as I said, this was very early days. Like Lucas had an outline of what Star Wars was way before Star Wars was written. Something that Disney just doesn't have, because it just doesn't believe it's a thing. Well, I think with Dave Filoni and what's his name?
Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau, thank you. Definitely do, but look, we'll see. And that just kind of stands to, I think this was like a case of the Silmarillion, where like there was lots of ideas that were just taken. They're like, okay, I have all these ideas, I'm not going to use go and do
right something. Okay, so they weren't things that George Lucas had concrete ideas for, but they're like, we're going to use these later. Like maybe Kashyyyk could have ended up being there instead of Endor in some early draft of Return of the Jedi or something. We don't know.
And I think that's probably what it was. I think he had like a bunch of notes or something around where he says, look, I'm not going to do these just yet.
Yeah.
Use them.
The map painting actually of Kazoo or Kashyyyk, whatever it's called, does look a bit, is it, who's the designer of all the Star Wars?
I think it's Ray Warren. I think it's Ray Warren or something. That's his name. Ray something.
It's going to drive me crazy. We've got 2 minutes. I'm going to Google fast. But yeah, so we've got 2 minutes on the clock yet. So is there... Oh, and by the way, I'll say very quickly, I watched a documentary on Boba Fett to see if they're on Disney Plus to see if they'd mentioned the Star Wars Holiday Special. And surprisingly, George Lucas did, which horrified me. I assumed he was still pretending it didn't exist.
No, I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, like the fact that they've canonically even used the gun from the Holiday Special, it's like, you can't run from it, you know. Look, and it's not the worst thing ever. I mean, I would even say, look, what Disney should do now is cut their losses, re-edit it, and just own it. I mean, they released Rise of Skywalker, which is way more embarrassing than anything in the Holiday Special.
Ralph McQuarrie.
Ralph McQuarrie, that's it.
Sorry, he's worth looking up anyway.
I actually have 3 of his paintings behind me. So.
Well, there you go. Exactly. Yeah. So that's a positive endorsement.
I knew it began with an R, so I wasn't totally wrong.
Yeah. Credit your artists always.
Always.
So, with 1 minute left, is there anything you'd like to say from your delirious Kanye West Stargate?
If anyone finds the Stargate, please let me know.
Kanye, if you're out there, Dara would like his Stargate back.
I would like my Stargate back.
We're not judging. But we just like it returned home. That's all.
It. Not broken as well.
And I'll give a shout out to myself. We didn't cover Star Trek this week, but I am currently reviewing the Star Trek movies for Geek Ireland.
Oh, so fun.
Give them a bit of love if you are into that side of the geeky universe.
Actually, I was watching a random YouTube video and Geek Ireland were credited as a source. I was like, look, the lads.
Send that on to me. I'd like to know what that was.
I will, yeah.
Excellent. All right, we'll be back probably with a review of the new Marvel theme park, because I want to hear more about that. But until then, I've been Cian.
I've been Dara.
And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, this is worth it. We do work and she says I'm not romantic. I say she's too dramatic.
Alright, so you're listening to the podcast, you're like, hey, I'm not in Ireland, how do I get in touch? Well, TuneIn has you covered. That's how you can check us out live when we're on the radio. You go to TuneIn and download the app, or you can check out the live streams on nerdtoknowmedia.com or Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you want to get in contact with us, it's very easy. Nerd to Know Media everywhere. Nerd to Know Media on Twitter, Nerd to Know Media Instagram, Nerd to Know Media on Twitch, Nerd to Know Media at gmail.com if you want to reach out via email. Hope to hear from you soon. Check out the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And of course, over on nerdtoknowmedia.com, the only wrestling podcast by wrestling fans who don't hate wrestling. We'll see you then.
Hey, Dara, what are you doing over there in Ireland? Like with the freaking leprechauns and everything. That's not cool. You should be over here with the cosplayers. At least then you could, like, I don't know, pretend like you got, I don't know, some kind of thing going on. Yeah, with you give me a Brooklyn Blade. Yeah, with your stick, Dara. Dara? Yeah, Dara. Why ain't you over here with Joey? Anyway, we missed you, dude.
I love it. All I do is just believe in the heart of the cards, and then I...
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.